Avoid these financial traps before it's too late. What if I told you that 78% of Americans are walking straight into financial traps that will steal their retirement dreams? Here's the scary part. Most people don't realize they're trapped until it's too late to escape. Look, I get it. You're working hard, paying your bills, maybe even saving a little money. You think you're doing everything right. But the financial industry has designed sophisticated traps that look like smart moves while secretly draining your wealth for decades. I discovered this the hard way when I realized at 42 that everything I thought was helping me get ahead was actually keeping me broke. Warren Buffett once said, "The biggest risk isn't losing money on a bad investment. It's not recognizing the hidden costs that compound against you every single day." These aren't obvious scams or get-rich-quick schemes. These are mainstream financial products that banks, insurance companies, and investment firms actively promote because they make billions from your mistakes. In this video, I'm going to expose the 5 deadliest financial traps that are stealing money from your future right now. The 5th one will shock you. It's something 89% of Americans do, thinking they're being responsible, but it's actually the fastest way to guarantee you'll work until you die. If you've ever wondered why you feel like you're running on a financial treadmill, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and comment "Escape the trap" below. Let's start with the first trap that catches almost everyone. Financial trap number 1, the minimum payment prison. Here's where millions of Americans get caught every single month. Credit card companies have perfected the art of making you feel responsible while keeping you in debt forever. They've convinced us that making minimum payments shows we're managing our debt responsibly, but this is the most expensive lie in personal finance. If you carry a $5,000 balance at 18% interest and make only minimum payments, you'll pay for 34 years and spend $13,931 in interest. That's nearly 3 times what you originally borrowed. But here's the real trap. While you're paying this debt, you're missing out on compound growth that could have made you wealthy. What makes this trap so insidious is the psychological conditioning. Banks design minimum payments to feel manageable, usually just 2 to 3% of your balance. A $5,000 balance might only require a $100 minimum payment, which seems reasonable. But this creates a dangerous illusion of affordability, while the interest charges guarantee you'll never escape. It's financial quicksand disguised as a helping hand. The credit card industry spent billions studying human psychology to perfect this trap. They know that people focus on monthly cash flow rather than total cost. They know that small payments feel responsible, even when they're financially devastating. They've turned mathematics into manipulation, using compound interest against you instead of for you. There's an ancient Babylonian tale about a farmer who borrowed grain to plant his fields. The lender offered 2 options: pay back double the grain after harvest, or pay a small portion every season forever. The farmer chose the small payments, thinking he was being wise. Years later, he realized he'd paid back 10 times the original amount and still owed money, while his neighbor, who paid in full after 1 harvest, owned his land free and clear. Pay off credit cards aggressively, starting with the highest interest rates first. Take every extra dollar, tax refunds, bonuses, side income, and attack that debt. A $5,000 balance paid with an extra $200 monthly disappears in 21 months instead of 34 years, saving you over $10,000 in interest. A successful entrepreneur once told me, "Debt is like quicksand. The longer you stay in it, the deeper you sink. But wealth is like compound interest. The earlier you start, the higher you climb." The wealthy understand that every dollar in interest payments is a dollar that can't work for your future. When you break free from minimum payment prison, you don't just save money, you reclaim your financial destiny. Financial trap number 2, the lifestyle inflation spiral. This trap is sneaky because it feels like success. You get a raise, promotion, or bonus, and suddenly you deserve a nicer car, bigger apartment, or fancier lifestyle. Society tells us this is a normal progression, but it's actually a wealth-destroying cycle that keeps high earners living paycheck to paycheck. The statistics are shocking. 40% of people earning over $100,000 annually still live paycheck to paycheck because they've fallen into this trap. Every time their income increases, their expenses increase faster. They're making more money, but building less wealth. Trapped in what looks like success, but feels like financial stress. This trap is particularly devastating because it scales with your income. A person making $50,000 who falls into lifestyle inflation might waste an extra $10,000 annually, but someone making $150,000 might waste $50,000 or more. The higher your income, the more expensive this trap becomes, which explains why so many high earners retire with surprisingly little wealth. The psychology behind this trap runs deep in American culture. We're taught that your lifestyle should reflect your success, that driving a nice car and living in a good neighborhood are signs you're making it. Social media amplifies this pressure, constantly showing us how others live and making us feel inadequate if we're not keeping up. The result is that we spend our raises before we even get them, trapped on a hedonic treadmill that never leads to financial freedom. What's truly insidious is how this trap disguises itself as logical thinking. I work hard, I deserve this upgrade, I can afford the payments now. This is an investment in my career, image, happiness. These rationalizations feel reasonable in the moment, but compound into financial quicksand over time. Marcus Aurelius wrote about a general who conquered new territories but became poorer with each victory because he spent more than he gained on celebrations and luxuries. The emperor noted, "True wealth is not in what you can afford to buy, but in what you choose not to buy." This wisdom from 2,000 years ago perfectly describes modern lifestyle inflation. Lock in your savings rate, not your savings amount. When you get a raise, immediately increase your savings by the same percentage. If you were saving 10% on $50,000, save 10% on $60,000. This way, you can enjoy some lifestyle improvement while ensuring your wealth grows faster than your expenses. A millionaire friend shared this simple rule. Every time my income goes up, I pretend I only got half the raise. The other half goes straight to investments before I can get used to spending it. This approach breaks the lifestyle inflation trap because you're programming wealth building into every income increase. The key is understanding that your lifestyle doesn't need to match your income. Your savings rate determines your financial freedom, not your spending rate. Are you caught in any of these traps right now? Drop a comment with just the number 2 if you're realizing that your lifestyle might be growing faster than your wealth. Sometimes, acknowledging the trap is the first step to escaping it. Financial trap number 3, the retirement plan illusion. This might be the most dangerous trap because it makes you feel secure while setting you up for poverty. Most Americans believe their 401k and Social Security will fund a comfortable retirement, but the math tells a terrifying story. The average 401k balance for Americans nearing retirement is only $152,000. That generates about $6,000 annually using the safe withdrawal rule. The trap gets worse when you realize most people are contributing just enough to get the company match, thinking that's sufficient. A typical worker contributing 6% of a $60,000 salary for 30 years ends up with around $350,000. Sounds good until you realize that only provides $14,000 annually in retirement. Barely enough to cover basic expenses, let alone the lifestyle you're working so hard to build. What makes this trap so devastating is the false sense of security it creates. People see money going to their 401k and assume they're handling retirement. They receive quarterly statements showing growth and feel responsible and prepared. Meanwhile, they're sleepwalking toward financial disaster because they never calculated what those numbers actually mean in terms of retirement income. The retirement industry deliberately keeps these calculations vague. Financial advisors talk about accumulation, but rarely discuss decumulation, how much monthly income your savings will actually provide. They use phrases like nest egg and retirement savings instead of retirement income. because the income numbers would terrify most people into action or despair. This trap is compounded by Social Security uncertainty. Current retirees might receive $1,500 or $2,500 monthly from Social Security, but younger workers face potential benefit cuts or delayed retirement ages. Yet most financial planning assumes Social Security will remain unchanged, creating another layer of false security in an already inadequate retirement strategy. There's a Jewish proverb about a man who saved 1 grain of wheat every day, believing it would feed him in old age. When harvest time came, he had only a handful of grain, while his neighbor, who planted fields of wheat, had an abundance for life. The lesson: small, inadequate actions feel like progress, but lead to inevitable shortage. Aim to save 20% of your income for retirement, not just enough for the company match. Max out your 401k, $23,000 annually if you're over 50, then open a Roth IRA for another $7,000. If you can't reach 20% immediately, increase your contribution by 1% every year until you get there. This aggressive approach builds real wealth instead of retirement poverty. The harsh reality is that retirement security requires retirement-level thinking. Most people save like they're planning a vacation when they should be saving like they're building a business. The wealthy understand that retirement isn't an age, it's a financial number. When your investments generate enough income to cover your expenses, you can retire regardless of your age. But if you fall into the retirement plan illusion, you'll be working until your body gives out, because you'll never have enough. Financial trap number 4, the emergency fund obsession. Financial experts have convinced everyone they need 6 to 12 months of expenses sitting in savings accounts earning virtually nothing. While having some emergency money makes sense, this advice has created a massive wealth-destroying trap that keeps millions of Americans poor while feeling financially responsible. The problem is inflation and opportunity cost. Money sitting in savings accounts earning 1 to 2% is losing purchasing power when inflation runs 3 to 4% annually. Worse, every dollar in low-yield savings is a dollar not growing in investments. Over 20 years, $50,000 in savings accounts becomes maybe $60,000, while the same money in index funds historically becomes $200,000. This trap is particularly cruel because it targets responsible people who are trying to do the right thing. These are the people who listen to financial advice, follow the rules, and sacrifice current enjoyment for future security. But they're being led into a wealth-destroying strategy disguised as wisdom. The emergency fund obsession stems from Depression-era thinking when banks failed and markets were unreliable. Today's financial landscape is completely different. We have FDIC insurance, stable markets, accessible credit, and liquid investments. Yet we're still following advice designed for a world that no longer exists. What's worse is how this advice scales with income. A person earning $40,000 might keep $20,000 in savings. That's manageable. But someone earning $150,000 following the same advice keeps $75,000, earning nothing. High earners following this advice are literally keeping their wealth in financial prison while thinking they're being responsible. The financial services industry loves emergency fund advice because it keeps your money in their low-yield accounts instead of moving to higher return investments. Banks make billions from the spread between what they pay you in savings, 1%, and what they earn investing your money, 7–10%. They've convinced you to be their unpaid investor. Benjamin Franklin wrote about a merchant who kept gold buried in his yard for emergencies, while his competitor invested in trade routes. When genuine emergencies arose, both men needed money quickly. The first had to dig up his buried gold, which had lost value to inflation and provided no growth. The second sold small portions of his thriving investments, which had multiplied in value and provided ongoing income. Franklin noted that true security comes from assets that grow, not assets that stagnate. Keep 1 month of expenses in cash, then invest the rest in a balanced portfolio of stocks and bonds. For emergencies larger than 1 month's expenses, use a line of credit or sell investments. The key is that invested money grows to handle bigger emergencies, while cash just sits there becoming worth less every year. A wealthy business owner explained his philosophy: "I don't have emergency funds, I have emergency opportunities. When unexpected expenses arise, I can access my growing investments. When investment opportunities arise, I have capital ready to deploy. Cash under the mattress helps with neither." The difference between security and wealth is that security preserves what you have, while wealth grows what you have into what you need. Financial trap number 5, the financial advisor dependency. Here's the trap that shocked me most. The financial services industry has convinced Americans they need professional help to manage money, then charges fees that destroy long-term wealth. Most financial advisors charge 1 to 2% annually in fees, which sounds small, but compounds into massive wealth transfers over decades. Let's do the devastating math. A $500,000 portfolio managed by an advisor charging 1.5% fees will cost you $442,000 over 30 years, compared to low-cost index funds. That's nearly your entire initial investment paid in fees. But it gets worse. Those fees come out of your principal, so you're not just paying the fee, you're losing the compound growth on that money forever. This trap is built on manufactured complexity and fear. The financial industry has spent billions convincing people that investing is too complicated for regular folks to understand. They use complex terminology, create confusing products, and constantly discuss market volatility to make you feel like you need professional guidance. In reality, successful long-term investing is remarkably simple. Buy low-cost index funds and hold them for decades. The advisor dependency trap is particularly insidious because it targets your emotions. When markets go down, your advisor is there to calm your nerves and prevent you from making emotional decisions. But what they're really doing is keeping you invested in their fee-generating system. They profit whether your investments go up or down, while you bear all the risk and pay all the costs. What's especially frustrating is how this trap scales with wealth. A retiree with $100,000 pays $1,500 annually in advisor fees. But someone with $1 million pays $15,000 annually, enough to fund a comfortable lifestyle for many people. The wealthy you think you're emulating actually manage their own money or pay much lower fees to institutional managers. The financial services industry has created an entire mythology around the value of professional management. They cite studies showing that people with advisors have better outcomes, but these studies rarely account for the type of people who hire advisors. They're typically more financially conscious and would likely do well regardless. When you control for these factors, the advantage of professional management disappears, but the fees remain. There's a biblical parable about servants entrusted with their master's money. One servant buried it safely and returned exactly what was given. Another invested wisely and multiplied the money many times over. The master praised the one who grew the wealth and condemned the one who merely preserved it. The lesson: preservation isn't enough. Your money must grow, and excessive fees are the enemy of growth. Invest in low-cost index funds with expense ratios under 0.1%. Learn basic investing principles. It's not complicated. Buy total market index funds, rebalance annually, and ignore market noise. The time you spend learning basic investing will save you hundreds of thousands in fees and make you a better steward of your wealth. A self-made millionaire once told me, "Paying someone 1% annually to buy index funds is like paying someone to breathe for you. It's something you can easily do yourself, and the cost of outsourcing it will keep you poor." The wealthy understand that financial independence requires taking control of your money, not handing it over to someone who profits from keeping you dependent on their services. What's your biggest financial fear right now? Comment independence below if you're ready to take control of your money instead of paying others to manage it for you. Now you see the 5 financial traps that keep Americans broke while thinking they're making smart moves. These aren't accidents. They're designed systems that transfer your wealth to financial institutions while keeping you feeling responsible and secure. Comment trap escape and tell me which one you're going to tackle first. Your courage might inspire someone else to break free too. If this video opened your eyes to how the financial system really works, smash that like button and share it with someone who needs this wake-up call. Subscribe and hit the bell because I'm exposing more financial industry secrets they don't want you to know. Next week, I'm revealing the investment strategies that made ordinary people millionaires. Strategies your financial advisor will never tell you about. Remember, the difference between the wealthy and everyone else isn't luck or income. It's recognizing these traps and refusing to fall into them. Every financial decision either builds your wealth or destroys it. The choice is yours, but the window for building real wealth gets smaller every day you stay trapped. Your future self is counting on the decisions you make today. Choose freedom over convenience, growth over security, and independence over dependency.